Also, this is not an effective counter to Destiny's argument. I can't believe I'm defending Destiny here now. What the f is happening? Yeah, it's Somalis, not Somalians, but that's, I feel like, a lost cause. Now, you know what? Before we look at the vandalism that's taking place in like different Somali childcare facilities, let's take a look at what Asmongold's commentary looks like, given that he's one of the largest content creators on this platform, and also happens to be, you know, covering this issue extensively.
The Somalians, Somali migrants, Somalia, the Somali Democrat fraud, Somalians to Somalia, migrants from Somalia, the Somalians, Somalian terrorists. The Somalians, Somali area, Somalia, Somalia with them. The Somalians, Somalian daycares, Somalians, and this low-income, ignorant, delusional, brain-dead, third-world importation of all of these illiterate people that can't speak English, that have no...
I'm going to say it. Every single Somali person that Nick Shirley encountered is infinitely more intelligent than Nick Shirley. And not just Nick Shirley, but anyone who was duped by Nick Shirley's video. Straight up. Asmongold included.
Skills, live off the government, and are effectively parasites on the United States of America is a class war. All the comments saying you're a Nazi? Guys, this is just like Adolf Hitler.
He is and remains a complete parasite, a scrounger, like a harmful bacteria always spreading further. His presence produces the effect of...
Yeah, these guys also they love doing this thing where it's like, you're calling me a Nazi because I'm basically saying the exact same things that Adolf Hitler said about marginalized groups. Well, guess what? We've destigmatized Adolf Hitler. It's like, I don't think we have, actually. I don't think we have. I mean, I know you're trying to do it, but we clearly haven't. And that's precisely the reason why you go back and forth on saying Nick Fuentes is based, but then also simultaneously getting offended whenever people call you a Nazi. He's decided, I guess the next pivot here is to say, oh, actually, calling someone a Nazi is not going to be, not going to have the same strength anymore. It'll come back. Don't worry. Hopefully it'll have the same strength again.
A parasitic plant. Wherever he settles, the people who welcome him will be wiped out eventually.
Because these parasites have come in from other countries. They're stealing our money.
Parasites? How does it even make... What? They're parasites because they take a job? That's a...
Yes, of course they are. What is a parasite? A parasite attaches itself to a host country. Stay with me here.
Let him fight. Let him fight. No, it's good. I'm glad that Destiny took time out of his busy day yelling at the left.
I think Hasan is like an enemy of the country. I think he's like Jackson Hinkle territory to me, like worse than Fuentes right now.
So Mr. Liberal finally woke up to the reality that there is a person who is doing unlimited Nazi propaganda on a daily basis. Jesus Christ.
It attaches itself to a host, and then it extracts nutrients, resources, and life force out of that for itself.
The effect of his existence resembles also that of parasites. Where he appears, the host people die out sooner or later.
It is insane that a guy who lives in filth and contributes nothing but hatred to American society gets to call random low-wage workers, parasites, dude. Their contributions are endless in comparison to you, my man. Jesus Christ, what the f have you contributed? You don't do anything. If there's anyone that could be adequately considered a parasite, it would be the guy who just sits around and just goes, yeah, based over Donald Trump videos. It's mind-boggling to me.
And there's an even newer clip. All the comments saying you're a Nazi. Now, is Twitch okay with this? Is this final solution? This is low-key some Adolf... This is just like... Guys, this is just like Adolf Hitler. This is... Listen, maybe this works on Reddit, but it doesn't work anywhere else. Why don't we have a state...
100% does. In the real world, which Asmongold will never actually go out and encounter other human beings, for the most part, because he never leaves his filthy-ass home. But in the real world, of course, someone would absolutely turn around and go, what do you mean being called a Nazi for saying Adolf Hitler style is like, what are you doing here? You can't be defending your statements like this. Go ahead, dude. Go to any community run around talking about like these guys are parasitic. The Klan rally that you might attend would be the only appropriate place where you can say shit like this. Sure, the average American is certainly can be very racist, especially towards migrants, especially towards black and Muslim migrants. Certainly. Having said that, the moment that you start talking about how Hitler is based, I don't think most Americans are going to be on board with that. Look at Hasan meat riding Asmongold for the 300th day in a row. Does it feel like the walls are closing in a little bit on your daddy, on a person that you consider to be this idealistic intellectual? Is that why you guys keep coming in here and crying? Is that what it is? That there is like maybe a fraction of the scrutiny on the shit that he says on a daily basis, and all of a sudden now it's like, oh, you guys, why are you paying attention to him? I don't know. Why are you so scared? Better yet, why is he so scared to have a conversation with someone like myself, for example? That post also got like 800 upvotes in 3 minutes. Reddit is for bots. Oh, it's super, super botted. With the numbers of viewers and subs, it seems like the walls are closing in here. What kind of narrative building is this? I've stayed consistently around the same exact numbers for the past year, while also simultaneously retaining the same number of subscribers. How many subscribers does Asmongold have? Do you honestly think this is an own? You're like, wow, dude, look at you with your 44,000 subscribers. Like, oh no, I am a victim, dude. You caught me. But once again, why the does it matter to you? You're just a random dude. Why are you dick riding for another dude? Used to be a fan of Asmon back when he made gaming content. Nowadays, 100% of his content is politically biased and caters to white nationalists. He loves to fan the flames of anything conservative because he knows that is where his money comes from. At the end of the day, I doubt most of the things he says he even really stands behind. It's all about how much of that specific audience he can make like-minded content for. No, 100%. I've been saying that. It's not like he's shy about admitting it either. He just openly will say he's only self-interested, and he will say whatever is actually beneficial for him. That's precisely the reason why he's changed his mind about a lot of the stuff that, you know, public consciousness is shifted on. The only reason why he keeps leaning into the racism stuff is because he sees that the most commonly in his own subreddit and on Twitter. And he actually has a false assessment here. He genuinely thinks that because this kind of narrative is actually a lot more popular and overemphasized on the internet, that it's actually a narrative that is gaining momentum or popularity still, the anti-immigrant stuff that he's doing. It's not. Yeah, flexing another man's accomplishments remains the lamest shit. These guys have no shame. Dude, they are K-pop stans. That's what's so crazy. Imagine being a K-pop stan for Asmongold. At least K-pop stans, at least K-pop artists are hot. You know, at least like you can listen to their music. You're over here standing for this creature, brother. Holy Jesus. Yeah, you're also like a grown-ass man too. God damn.
Where we bring in 50 million illegal immigrants. We will send every illegal immigrant to one state, and we'll see what it's like after 10 years. That's right.
Buddy, that state is called California, and it's got the 5th highest GDP in the world.
That's a great point. The reason why California's GDP is so high is because of illegal aliens. It's not because of all the businesses that are trillion-dollar businesses.
Okay, I don't understand. The California argument is actually not wrong. And who the do you think works in the businesses? Like, do you think the entire businesses that exist in this country are comprised? Like, every single business in California is just, there's no migrants working there, undocumented or documented alike.
It's not because of Silicon Valley. Oh, no, of course not. It's actually because of the illegal aliens.
So stupid. You don't know a single fact about literally anything.
That's right. Of course.
As opposed to what?
I think we need to shut off agriculture in its entirety. California doesn't just have Silicon Valley, even though Silicon Valley heavily relies on H-1B visas, but that's not even what we're going to be talking about here. We're talking about agriculture. California has a robust agricultural output, and the agricultural output is entirely with migrant workers, okay? It's kept up with migrant workers, both seasonal workers and migrant workers that have the proper documentation, and also undocumented migrant workers as well. No more food. Now, of course, yeah, the agriculture is a $60 billion business a year in California. Now, regardless, the proper solution here is not to deport migrants, or the argument here isn't, oh, well, migrants are actually working these low-wage jobs that American citizens would never take on. So obviously we need to keep having a steady flow of basically slave labor that's coming into the country. That's not the argument, or at least that's not my solution. I understand that the two-tiered labor system actually depresses wages for the domestic labor force as well. And the adequate solution here is to create wage parity and the proper documentation given to every single migrant worker. That's how you're supposed to do it. That's the only effective solution. But of course, all these guys want to do is the final solution. Why? Because they're coping. Asmongold has experienced tremendous success for a incompetent head who doesn't really know too much. He is the success story. There's a reason why a lot of people love him and praise him like he is their god, because they're also the sweaty, unwashed losers who still sit at home in their parents' house and just spend most of their time after sucking the man's dick on a daily basis. They come home, they crack open a can of Budweiser beer, and they watch Asmongold talk shit about migrants. It is coming from a place of unimaginable insecurity. The notion that your life is dog shit and you have nothing to look forward to, but at least there's a guy out there who resembles your most awful qualities who's actually succeeding, right? And that's the reason why they celebrate this man like he's the second coming of Jesus Christ. And one of the main points of propaganda here is, of course, to say, hey, you know what? My life is shit, but it's probably because there's brown people out there who are actually ruining this country. My life is shit because of random Guatemalans. My life is shit because random Somali people live on U.S. soil. It's not. It's not. Your life is shit because of capitalism. You won't recognize it. You will never recognize it. And you've been duped. You've been duped from the start, and you refuse to understand the system. So you just keep looking for a group of people that are more vulnerable that you can bully. That's what playground bullies do. And that's what a big driver for right-wing sentiment is. It's the same exact childlike attitude. Kid gets bullied at home, has a shitty home life, father is beating the out of him. He goes to the playground and he tries to beat on all the little kids that are smaller than he is. Why is that kid doing that at the playground? He's doing it because his life sucks and he wants to universalize the pain for others. He's doing it because that makes the playground bully feel strong, constantly punching down. And that's what it is. It's most like when it's reduced to its bare bones, the major driver for this kind of like white nationalist sentiment is the insecurity that comes from having a pathetic life that does not match the dreams that you set out for yourself when you were 12 years old. None of these guys actually have achieved a level of success that they're comfortable with in their own lives, so they're constantly looking for other people that they can basically cyberbully on the internet, and that somehow makes them feel better about themselves. And he is a perfect vessel for this kind of anxiety. He's a perfect vessel for this kind of animosity, this kind of anger, because he's the random loser who made it, right? In their eyes, he is a god.
All the illegal immigrants in fucking Alabama and Louisiana and fucking Georgia. Are you serious? I am getting rage baited. It's rage bait. Don't link me this. I just want
That's right, guys. That's right. Hey, guys, keep in mind, the reason why California is rich is because they have a bunch of illegal aliens. That's great. I had no idea. I thought it was the rich tech companies and the fact that it's like an incredible place geographically. It's like right next to the sea. It's always been one of the biggest states. It has one of the highest populations also, so it's going to naturally have a higher GDP. Yeah, okay.
Oh my God. It's rage bait.
Also, this is not an effective counter to Destiny's argument. I can't believe I'm defending Destiny here now. What the f is happening? Destiny's argument is, if undocumented migrants destroy entire economies, why the f is California so successful? That's it. If undocumented migrants are responsible for the death and destruction of entire ecosystems, entire economies, then why is California the fifth largest economy on the planet as a standalone state?
I'm getting rage bait. I know he's rage baiting me.
Yes.
I know it. I know he's rage baiting me.
This is what happens when you have to see the truth. And if I was rage baiting, it is working. The only way that...
Oh my God, yes, that's right. I'm simply rage baiting you. You have raged.
They are a net benefit to society is whenever you are using these fake indicators like GDP, you're going to get mad.
Oh, GDP is fake now.
It absolutely is fake, and it's completely fake. It's all fake money. So I'll go ahead and I'll show you. Was your life better in the purple block or the red block? Did you have more purchasing power in the purple block or the red block? Overwhelmingly.
This is where the limitations of liberalism come into play. GDP being a fake metric for quality of life standards has nothing to do with whether or not migrants are actually ruining your life personally, undocumented or not. While I do agree with Asmongold in terms of GDP being a not fake metric necessarily, but a metric that doesn't actually present the perfect picture in terms of quality of life, this is utterly irrelevant to the conversation that you started, Asmongold, where you claimed that undocumented migrants are ruining people's lives. It's completely irrelevant. GDP is only a worthless indicator until it suits him, let's be clear. Yeah, ironically enough, he said, let's put all the undocumented migrants in one place, in one state, and see what happens to the economy, was the initial claim that he made, as though somehow undocumented migrants are just like less, like worthy of less or something. And if they were, they're inferior somehow. And if they were all comprised in an area that like the economy would suffer, the counter to that was, if that was the case, California would suffer. And yet, judging by the same standard that Asmongold was presenting, California is not suffering, especially in terms of its economy. So then he turns around and goes, well, the GDP is a dumb metric anyway. Yeah, you're not wrong. In terms of analyzing whether or not people's material conditions are actually up to par, or if the quality of life is for the average person is good, GDP is not a very reliable metric. This is true. That's precisely the reason why you go to like average European cities and whatnot, and average European towns where the GDP is significantly lower than the United States of America's poorest states or poorest neighborhoods, and yet the quality of life is significantly better there. Or another example would be China for an even better comparison, right? Not the best metric. But the reason why it's even being discussed here is because you brought it up in your initial argument, only to turn around and now say, well, does your quality of life look better here than it did here? Did you have more purchasing power here than it did here? Yeah, it's irrelevant. You're not wrong. What would happen to your quality of life if every single person that's like out there picking tomatoes that make its way into your ketchup that you're consuming, what would happen to your quality of life then? I don't think you'd be giving a fuck about the GDP in that situation. You'd just be pissed off that you don't have, ketchup to purchase. Except Asmongold is rich. He will still be able to purchase all of the goods that he wants to purchase at a much, much higher price point. His fan base, on the other hand, will not be able to, and they'll get increasingly more mad as their access to treats have diminished, and they won't know why it happened. And they'll think, maybe we just didn't deport enough migrants.
Everybody's saying purple. That's because basing the GDP off of the human centipede of the 5 most valuable and most profitable tech companies in the country is not a very good indicator for where wealth and consolidation of resources actually is. What about the fact that after COVID, over 90% of the GDP growth and the wealth growth went to the top 1%? GDP is absolutely not a good indicator of what an average person's purchasing.
I hate that he uses, ironically enough, he uses a leftist assessment. Like, this is my talking point. He's using my talking points only to defend the position that undocumented migrants are actually worse overall for people's quality of life, except there's no evidence for this.
You think and feel a lot. I've never seen you actually do some research. Why would I need to do research? I already know it. Yeah, I just come to conclusions.
Yeah, I saw this
I'm
one.
there, you see 50 languages spoken in the school, and you see...
How is that a good thing? 50 languages was a punishment from God in the Old Testament for people building the Tower of Babel too high to get to heaven. You're literally looking at an Old Testament punishment from a vengeful God on a fallen world, and you're saying that it's a good thing. Is this fat, bald retard serious? Oh my God. 50 languages? That sounds like chaos. Can you imagine that?
Is he signaling to be a Christo-fascist? I don't know. Maybe if he does a God pivot, that'd be really funny. That would be awesome to see in 2026. Not only does he misunderstand the point of that story, it's not so much different languages, but the invention of different nations or ethnicities and the divide of humanity due to tribalism, which is, of course, he readily engages in. He's also calling someone else bald as an insult. Oh yeah, this was the other thing I wanted to show you guys, by the way. Mr. Based over here did the classic, like, the most classic pro-Israel defense meme. Wild how all the Israel influencers have the same interest in Somali daycare centers in the same week, says Andrew Mercado, because it's correct. It is very strange that all of these guys that went to Israel, all of a sudden, in the wake of Israel becoming the first country to recognize Somaliland for their own personal ambitions in the Red Sea to counter the Ansar Allah movement that is successfully, or was able to successfully shut off the logistical supply chain going from the Red Sea to Israeli ports. They want to obviously conquer that area to the best of their ability. So now they're betting on Somaliland, first country to recognize Somaliland. Day after that, all of this like anti-Somali propaganda comes from a bunch of people who were doing propaganda in Israel. Nick is not the only one. Cam Higby is another one. There's a bunch of these guys, right? Sure, maybe it's not. It's just a unique timing overall, okay? Unique timing overall. Maybe it's not on purpose, but it's a unique instance, all right? And he immediately goes, oh, you see Israel everywhere. Lol, this is stupid. But he's based, and don't forget, he's based, he's anti-Semitic. He loves when Nick Fuentes says Hitler is based. But then also, when someone actually correctly points to how strange it is that all of these pro-Israel influencers are now talking about, Somali interventions on the American welfare state and the American welfare apparatus in unison, all of a sudden it's like, you think everything's Israel, bro. I'm based, though. Yeah. No, it's normal. Last mayor of Gaza, Cam Higby, all these guys. What is this? It has 6K likes, but I like the analysis. Israel's Red Sea miscalculation with respect to Somalia's sovereignty and territorial integrity is already being discussed among regional leaders. Core geopolitical threat. It legitimizes and entrenches alternative governance structures in the Horn of Africa. Yeah, the number one thing is that every single African country is terrified of breakaway states. And that's precisely the reason why. This has 6 likes, not 6,000 likes. Look, every single African country is terrified of breakaway states. That's literally the reason why they've been fine with previous colonial boundaries that were set for them. And this will cause a lot of instability across the continent. Somalia views Israel's misadventures as existential threat. As a result, a new front of diplomatic warfare and potential proxy conflict, destabilizing the already fragile Somali state. Turkey, with its massive investments, that's the other reason. I've talked about this already. But another reason as to why Israel was doing the Somaliland recognition is because Turkey has a lot of investments in Somalia, and Israel's number one op is aside from Palestinians in the region now, and aside from Iran, of course, is now Turkey. They put the crosshairs on Turkey. That's why you hear a lot of Turkey is our number one enemy now type coming from Israel. So you get to undermine a strategic partnership that already exists against another regional actor, and you get to lay ownership over the other side of the Red Sea in an effort to combat any sort of Yemeni intervention. Yeah, they also want to gain a foothold in the Horn to further destabilize or attack Yemen. Yes, 100%. Anyway, I'm not going to get too far into the Somaliland discourse. I'm just simply stating that they have their own personal desires in this recognition, and the timing of the anti-Somali sentiment that's been brewing is interesting. It's already been happening. That's why I said it's a convergence. It's a convergence of different interests, right? Attacking migrant groups, attacking different migrant groups in an effort to shift the attention away from yourself or your personal ineptitude. That's obviously one of the reasons. And it's a tried and true technique for the administration. They did this with the Haitians during the election cycle when they said Haitians are eating cats and dogs, which is also bullshit. And on top of that, they always want to gut welfare programs anyway, so they can now use this as an opportunity to gut welfare programs. And these guys love fomenting hatred. The craziest part about it is that it's just like it was done in such a way. It was done in such a sloppy way, but it was done fast and efficient, if that makes sense.